Beautiful new song, Remember When by Zita Barbara. Please welcome her. Hi, Zita. What's going on?
Hello, Jacqueline. Painting, more recording. I'm recording a new song, Empire.
Oh, my goodness.
And yes, and since our last show, a lot of people have wanted to book me for shows, and one radio station program director out in Sacramento, California, actually contacted me, and he owns a um, FM radio station that is kind of like Mix 96.1 is here in San Antonio, which is like a pop station, but
Uh-huh.
out there in Sacramento. And, so many people have contacted me.
Oh,
so
I'm
it,
so
it's,
excited. That's great. Really, really great.
yes.
I love to hear that. We work really hard, that's for sure. Thanks to my team getting exposure for you guys, and I always love to hear. We don't get you guys back often enough, so that 'cause I know because our schedule is always so full, but I love it when I get to catch up with you. You know what I mean, and hear what's happened since the last episode, or what things have changed and everything. And you are writing a book now, which I'm so excited for. That's what this is for. This is the theme song to a book that's going to be a movie. Is that what's going on?
Well, I would love for it to become a movie, but yes, I wrote I wrote three books kind of in a row.
Mhm.
There's the one that I talked about when we were doing the live stream, and then this one is also would be considered probably my first finished romance novel. Right now, I have the manuscript ready.
Uh huh.
So I'm trying to see if someone would publish it or at least look at it. So I'm trying to find scope of publisher for it.
Wow, that's interesting. So you're not going to self-publish the book. You're going to find a publishing
For
company that maybe is tying in with producers of films or something. Maybe somebody out in L.A.
hopefully,
Yeah,
yes,
that'd be
but
great.
uh, yes, it would be great. For this one, because the one that I was talking about earlier, it was more of like I would say an indie book. So that's why I would e-publish probably. I would opt to e-publish hands because it's filled with kind of my quirky illustrations, and it doesn't really fit the mold of what people publish. For a mass audience, but this one was written more as a romance novel, and I feel like it would reach a wider audience if I attempt to find a publisher for it. So I'm going to try doing that. If it doesn't work out, then I'll go ahead and e-publish that one as well.
It's funny because I never thought to ask any of the sync licensing companies that are looking for music for films if they were tied into like book publishing companies as well, in any way. I wasn't ever, it's never been presented that way because typically people come looking for music that they can market to films, but it's kind of backwards a little bit. You know what I mean? Backtracking because I know that we
Yeah.
have a lot of sync licensing people. I've just never asked if they were ever tied into book publishers before. I wonder if I wonder even if some of those companies that work with us that place artists have ever done that kind of placement. There's a lot of there's a group, a kind of underlying group of industry professionals in the music business who represent artists as songwriters. And what they do is a little different from sync licensing, where they work with sync licensors, but they mostly try to take the song and shop it and get a commission off of that. So I'm wondering if any of those people are interested in actually shopping a book and song together kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like a package, or
Yeah.
even
Well,
interested in
actually,
taking it both pieces and carrying them out in different ways. But I've never thought to ask because I really can't think of anybody who's produced a book from, that goes ties in with the song.
yeah, and obviously it's like that's kind of an original a creative idea, and I was actually doing that with the intention that if I did e-publish this, I was hoping to tie in music to like make a soundtrack to the book was
Mhm.
the idea.
Oh, nice.
Because because I feel like a lot of people who listen to music, especially albums from artists, they know that there's
Mhm.
some kind of backstory, and they scope out the artist to find out like what is their personal life like, and then you see A&E biographies on the artist, and you can kind of they make movies, documentaries of the artist later in their lives or after they die, saying, well, this song was written by this artist because of this in her life, and this song
Mhm.
was written. And what I thought to myself was like, wouldn't it be a really new and original idea to write a book, but also have a soundtrack to it, kind of write an album, but also have like a book that kind of goes. You see, like the story kind of
Oh
goes
yeah,
with
I
the
totally
song.
get. I
So
totally get what you're saying, and I think it's a wonderful idea. Right now there's a huge trend of virtual albums, which you saw from Beyonce's Lemonade. Now, it's been going on for a few years. There've been other artists to do it, but it just seems to be a little more in the forefront this year and going into next year, and I hope it doesn't fade. I hope more people take the time to do it. This is kind of what you're talking about, if you develop the music, the visual, and also have the ebook available where people can read the stories. I think that's part of that visual presentation that is the trend, and I think that it's great foresight on your part to be already developing something like this. You have to develop it fully and advertise it correctly through your social media channels and make sure that people get that it's part of that, visual album movement type of thing.
exactly, and I think that that's
You know?
where the artists need to go, and in the music industry needs to go, because
It's different.
technology has made technology is different and has made it possible for artists to tell a fuller story.
Mhm.
Like first there was just music playing, on probably a vinyl and then CDs, but with like music videos and MTV, we got to see probably clips of what the music is about according to the artist, and sometimes it's just entertaining. But and then we would have things like behind the music. But I feel like um, there might be a hunger for something more in an audience, that they would love to discover what more behind the song, more emotion behind the song, like what caused this song to occur. And I
Absolutely.
feel like that's why I wrote the book kind of inspired to feed that need.
Mhm.
And it was a need that was in me as an audience person, as an audience member. I was watching storytellers, I think on VH1, and it had like Alicia Keys and um, all of these singer songwriters, and the whole platform of that one show was getting the singer songwriter to perform their music and then give a synopsis about what what inspired them to write that. And
I
it was
love watching
so
that show.
interesting.
Mhm.
Yes,
It's
it
a
was
great
so
show.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
so then I thought to myself, after I actually spent all night up listening to the show and watching it, and then I said, I need to do something similar. And I thought to myself, like, maybe I can write a book that kind of goes with an album. And obviously, when you write a book, and if it's good, sometimes it gets made into a movie. So I would hope that would be the end result, but um, it's not there yet, obviously.
I love the fact that you always do things so differently. We've talked about your art career, we've talked about fashion, and even how they've all worked together, and music. And this time around, I like the fact that you're embracing this side. I didn't even know that you wrote the other two. I didn't know that you had two other books out already. Are they already out?
No, Hands is the one that I talked about in the live stream is the closest to being out. I'm doing
I see.
final
Okay.
editing on it. Yeah, I'm doing final editing. I work right now with a PhD in English who is going over, and we're just making sure that the smallest details are correct.
That's great.
Just like, yes, just
Takes
so I
a
make
long
sure
time.
that it does take a long
Yeah, it's
time.
a big process,
I want to
right?
get
How many pages is it, Zita?
it's 20 chapters and roughly, I think it was 230 pages. It's
Wow.
around the size of a juvenile fiction book.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yes,
incredible.
so yes, and it is quite an ordeal to edit it because I've been editing it since last year, and I worked with a professional editor who we went over the work, I believe, 4 times, but this last edit I'm just doing because I'm responsible as if I'm e-publishing, I'm responsible for the quality of the product and everything. It's not so much a publishing company. So I'm just making sure that something is out there that isn't full of mistakes, or, that people can just read it and enjoy it. And I don't get any bad reviews or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. I mean, I am sure you've definitely been a very detail-oriented person with your work, and I'm sure that by the time this gets launched, it's going to be perfect and it's going to be just wonderful. And I'm very excited to see the whole thing together. With you releasing these and then working on this new package for Remember When, I mean, my gosh, you've got to be working like all the time.
Yes, I am working all the time. Even when it's fun, it's fun work. That's why I don't. There are stressful moments, but for the most part, I pull through any stressful moment with. But this is what I really love to work on, and so I don't break down as easily, and I continue to plow through, knowing that I can take a break from, let's say I'm recording this one song Empire right now. I can take a break from it and do some fashion design and kind of just set my mind on another project for a little while and then move on to painting. Once I get tired of one, I can move on to the next one. And so it is a lot of work to do and to put together the different projects, but at the same time, I don't burn out rapidly because I just love to work in this way, and I think I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. No, I totally understand what you're saying. You give yourself a break. We always mix up tasks, in creative fields. And especially if you can accomplish one in a relatively short period of time, like I've had some songwriters that have spanned a course of 7 years in trying to produce one album. And my big question to them has always been, how did you keep the direction moving? How did you keep coming back and actually get that album out and finished? Because in 7 years, I'm sure you have wanted to throw in the towel. You know what I mean? You kind of, if you don't finish it in a year, you kind of feel like, oh my gosh, it's just going on for 7. So that's a long time to be able to draw out a project. Artists that I've always talked to have always been a little more structured and finishing things and being able to switch it up so that there's movement and so there's no stagnation, and that inspiration keeps flowing, which is what you're talking about. So I completely understand and agree with what you're saying. It's great to embrace the facets of what makes you you and hopefully be able to express them to other people. How's your fan base been doing? What have they been saying?
It has been doing well and growing, and a lot of messages have been coming to me. And also a lot of people leaving comments on my Reverb Nation, beautiful vocals, especially when I released Remember When, a lot of people came through with beautiful vocals, and that's I feel like the influx of people after hearing Remember When, because I feel like it drew in a new wave of people to me, and I've gotten a lot of messages, a lot of comments, and so I wanted to create something a lot more along the lines of Remember When, because it's kind of a relaxing Enya, ambient.
It is. It's beautiful. I like that.
Like heavenly sound, and I did want to produce another song that is similar to it, and so I went back to songwriting right away, and that's how we're just talking about. Like it is so easy that once one I feel like one project inspires the next.
It does.
Yes, once everybody or such great reviews came through with Remember When, I just went straight back to I got to songwrite another song, a follow-up song, and I did, and I wrote the song Empire to follow up Remember When, but once we put the Remember When vocals to it, I realized it was more of it was a more powerful, strong a song, powerful song vocally. So we're putting a different set of vocals, which would be more or less rock. I was just listening to this interview from the lead singer of Disturbed, and he studied classical voice before he was before he was like a metal star or a rock star, and he puts his classical training into that Simon and Garfunkel's "The Sound of Silence."
Oh, I love that
so
song.
You get,
oh my God.
Yes.
Great
I
song.
feel I sent you the video once, I believe, of his particular rendition, because he's normally a heavy metal singer, but he has classical training in his background, and the same thing has happened with me. I have classical training in my background, but I can work with different styles of music, and I wanted to bring something that was you can hear kind of the classical in Remember When. So I wanted to bring something that was kind of a mix between the classical of Remember When and then bring it a little bit heavier, more aggressive, to mixing it with a bit of a rock style to the vocals. And that's what I'm doing right now, is working on that.
I
and
like
so
the
far,
fact, for you, I so far in what I've reviewed from you, I like the fact that you let your feelings dictate the music individually. Like you said, you went back in and you were going to make another song that was inspired by Remember When and the way you produced the vocals, but then you realized that it needed something else. It just wasn't that song. And you were okay to flex and go into, another sound for yourself. And I've kind of come to embrace this from you and liked it, because you've had, you're very diverse, using one sound. You're not ever just staying in one place. You're kind of experimenting with a lot of different things that you love to do. And that has been part of your brand, Zita, that I've seen from you. I like that you do that. I think that, very, very few people can pull that off. A lot of the music artists have been, they've been structured in a way that they can't really switch that dramatically, because people don't know them for that. But you have built your brand from the start in doing this, and just kind of reflecting whatever the mode or the inspiration puts forth. And it works. It really, really does work. So you're a great example of that for people to be able to see happen. I know a lot of people don't get it, because that's just how they are, especially the old timers. They kind of get stuck in their ways, and they're like, well, I just don't get this. Why don't you just, go here and then stay there? And that's just not what the world of artists is about today, is it?
No, I mean, we have so much available to us. The technology has made it easier for a person to do different things and to go outside of the mold. And I feel like that's where the music industry is coming to, because back in the day, you would probably have to do a lot. There's a lot of you'd have to get a record label to put a lot of money into making one track and trying to sell an artist like in a particular, like you said, it's a particular way to a particular demographic. And I studied marketing in school, so I'm not intimidated by, I'm not. I understand it and well enough to understand what, not to forfeit my artistic integrity to the to catering to a certain demographic or certain particular circle of people or listeners. I feel that in being more open, I am reaching a wider audience, because one person might not know me for my music, they might know me for my art, but at the same time, it's interesting to them once they discover me for my music. Oh wow, you did that too, And
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's a put off in any way, shape, or form.
Not at all.
And yeah, and I have, over the course of attempting this and putting myself out there, a lot of producers a lot of people in the music industry, they'll tell you to be something that you're not, and in order to sell you properly or to sell your music, and it's all up to the artist. How much are you willing to sacrifice of what you feel you want to bring to people, of your art, and how much you want to let something else control the direction of your art. And it really depends on the person. That we're all faced with choices, especially creatively.
True. We are.
Exactly. Creative processes, the creative process is a series of choices. And if you let those choices be done by other people, you might, as an artist, feel you're not being genuine to your art. So, and it's been a struggle for artists, I guess, since the beginning of art, is how much of this should I do for the audience and for the entertainment of an audience? How much do I put of myself and do this for myself? It's just something that's always come along with art in any medium. Thank you.
Zita Barbara on A.V.A. Live Radio Behind the Music series with her song Remember When.
Not ever again, not even my wildest dreams, not even my wildest